Okay, are you able to see my screen okay?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so I'm doing HTML5 tags, the audio, video, and canvas tags.
Okay.
Um, so first off, the audio tag, it lets you just embed audio into your web page. And the code is so super simple with HTML5. Um, this one. So to embed audio, you just do the audio tag, and if you want the audio controls as well, you do controls. That puts in, you saw how I had like the little controller on it. You
Yeah.
play Seek. Yeah, that's what that does.
And if not, what does it look like?
That's a good question. Looks like it doesn't show up at all.
Does it just start like playing it so you can hear it? Or
No, it's not playing it.
oh,
So I don't know if you'd ever want that. Maybe if you do, because we're not allowed to use libraries like jQuery and whatnot.
right.
So maybe if you're doing like jQuery, you wouldn't put the controls because you're going to make your own controls with jQuery and use a different library.
Okay.
Maybe. I'm not super positive about that.
I'll use controls basically for now.
Yeah. And then you just say the source. And so I have it, um, the source file is an MP3 file. It has to be in the same directory. And then you have to say the type. So it's audio and it's an MPEG. Or that'll work if you just say MP3 too. And then this is just the message that shows up if your browser doesn't support it. Like if you had an old browser, just say your browser does not support the audio element there instead.
Okay.
Um, what did I say that? I don't know. Yeah. And then for video, so I put the whole video inside of this div. I aligned it in the center, and then you'll do the video tag, and you're going to want to give the video an ID. I gave an ID of video one, and then you can also do other stuff in the initial tag, like set the width. I set the width at 420. And then actually a lot of this is from the W3 Schools website also. I just changed a couple things.
Okay.
Um, and so then you put the source. So this is what the file's called in the directory and the type. So it's similar. It's really similar to audio. But then also with video, also, and you can do this audio too. I commented this one out, but you can add like multiple sources. So if this was, I think OGG, I think that might be for like Safari maybe. But certain browsers like certain video formats,
Yeah.
or like older browsers might need a different one. So if you want to cover like all of the browsers, you can add like all the different sources that'll work, and it'll just use the source that works on that browser.
Okay, yeah. It's kind of like what we were talking about last time with the WebKit thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And then you just put a message in there. Um, if the video doesn't show up, or if it's not able to play it on their web browser. And then I added buttons above you saw I had like the buttons above the video.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so those are calling JavaScript functions. So then you also have to do, some JavaScript with the video. So I set my video equals to get element by ID video one, because that's what I set the video ID is video one. And then so if it calls the play pause function, you just do my video dot pause or my video dot play, my video dot pause, my video dot width. You can set it the width depending on that. So there's a couple other things you can do with that by just doing like my video dot whatever action you want it to take, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what all those buttons do.
So
So
is there not like a control thing for video then? Like there is
no, it does. Yeah, video doesn't come with controls.
in HTML5.
Yeah, if you used a like a different like if you use like Express or jQuery or whatever, it might have something you can use. Well, I'm sure it does. Like a library you can import.
Mm-hmm.
But with just plain HTML, it's probably not. Oh, look at that.
Okay, it does.
What do you know?
Cool.
um, yeah. Do you have any other questions about the audio or video
No,
ones?
that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, audio and video are pretty straightforward. And then I was also going to cover Canvas, and I was actually really excited because I did like all these topics in a different class, like a CS class already.
Oh,
I
cool.
could not find any of that work that I'd done. I looked all over for it.
Oh no.
And so today I realized though it's because I saved all of it. It's on like in the Linux lab. All my stuff is saved in there.
Oh, okay.
Because for my final project, I demoed like Canvas. So I'm like, I know I did all this Canvas stuff. Where is that? And so I finally found it. So I was actually really excited about
Cool.
that. So I made a Canvas page, and I'll upload it to the Google Drive so you can look at it. Because some of the stuff I don't really remember. But you can read like about. I kind of explain what Canvas is, and then I did a couple like different Canvas things. So you can have Canvas draw text on the page. You can have Canvas display an image. I wouldn't recommend having Canvas display an image because HTML supports images really well. You don't need Canvas anymore. But the main thing you use Canvas for is if you have to display like animations. So here's just a simple animation that I made, just a little ball bouncing back and forth. Um, and I included, there's more sources at the bottom. So if you want to learn more about Canvas, you can always go to those places. But I'll just show you what the code looks like on that real quick. So first in HTML, you use the canvas tag, and then you use the ID. That's just whatever you want to call it. I just did text, image, animate, but it's like any ID. You can call it whatever you want. And then you set the width and the height of the canvas. That's the first thing you have to do. That tells it like how much space to take up, you know. And then you also have a message. If like Canvas can't display, it's like the video and audio tags. You put a message in there between the two tags if it doesn't work. And then you do the rest in JavaScript. So then the JavaScript gets a little complicated, especially for the animation. So for display text, you call that ID, so that knows what canvas you're going to insert this into, basically. And so I don't really remember too much about this. Like I kind of, when I first learned it, I just kind of had to play around with stuff. But I set the C variable as that canvas space to fill. And then honestly don't remember what that is. CTX equals C dot get context 2D. I think you have to put that for doing like 2D canvas stuff because it's different if you want it to be 3D. So I set the font, ctx.font, fill style blue, text align center. So I just did 50-point font in Arial, and I set the font color to blue, and I aligned it in the center of the canvas. And then at the end, you have to say fill text, canvas. And then image is kind of similar. The first two parts are similar.
So is this just supposed to be like I don't really get what the purpose of it is when you could use like CSS to do this.
Yeah, see, like text and image, like okay, you used to have to use it with older HTML, but with HTML5, like they added a ton of built-in libraries, so you can do like text, display text, custom text, and like display images with that. So like you really won't need that anymore. So it's kind of only used for animation, but honestly, there's way better ways uh, to animate things in on your web page, anyways. Um, but the animation is it actually gets like really complicated. And this, like I spent hours working on this. This is my final project for that class.
Oh wow.
Um, so, but yeah, you can call these functions, and you have to. It's kind of like using like if you were like drawing an image with a graphing calculator.
Yeah.
It's like similar to that. I had to call like for the circle, I had to do like math time dot pi times two, and
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's yeah, it's kind of like it's hard to explain because like even when I did it, like I still wasn't really sure. Like I just had to play around with it for a really long time to
So
get it.
you like drew that rainbow like rectangle, and then you made the circle, and then you told it how to bounce along it.
Yeah, pretty much. So I did like the yeah. So like here, this was all the this right here is just the code for the gradient. Um, but it like refreshes it with every time the circle moves, you kind of have to refresh the whole canvas. So that's why this is in the draw function. So every frame it has to redraw everything. So every frame I just have it this is the background, I just have it do it every time.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so yeah, I was adding each color for each sixth of the gradient, well each eighth, I guess. Um, and then this was the actual code for making the ball move for each frame. And these like x and dx, I think I put them in as global variables up here.
Gotcha.
These are like the starting variables. So it keeps track. Here it's keeping track of where it's at. Um, right here, x plus equals dx, y plus equals dy. So this calculates what dx and dy need to be with each frame, and then it adds it to give it the new coordinates, and then it keeps track of that since it's a global variable every time it calls the function.
Okay. So Canvas mainly probably used with animations then,
Right.
from at least
And
now.
you can make games with it also, but like it's really not the best technology for that. I think to be honest, I don't know of any web page, any modern web page that would even use Canvas, but it used to be like a really widely used technology, which is probably why we're learning about it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I mean, custom animations, you'd probably just use, I think Flash would probably be the fastest way to do that.
It's cool you can do it though. I had no idea that you could just use
Yeah.
JavaScript to do all of that.
Yeah.
So
Um,
why, but I mean like, how come I couldn't just like call your function canvas in my HTML that's not canvas, and like would it not work?
no, because the very first thing I do is I get element by ID text, which is that canvas tag.
So if I had if I had a different tag that wasn't with Canvas, but it was set to that ID, it wouldn't work.
No, it wouldn't work at all.
Oh, okay.
Because right here it's saying c.getContext is getting the context of that canvas, and that it's 2D. And so right there it wouldn't work.
Gotcha.
Everything else wouldn't work.
Canvas specific things. Okay, that makes sense.
Because these are all Canvas specific functions: font, fill style, text align, fill text.
Oh, these are all Canvas functions.
Draw image. Yeah, it's all taking it from the Canvas library.
Okay. Got it. That makes sense.
Begin path, arc, fill.
Cool. Yeah, I'd never even heard of Canvas before, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd recommend for your website though, because you have to have something Canvas.
Right.
I mean, you can take this if you want and just change enough stuff to make it look different. Just kind of play around with what different things do.
Yeah.
Or you can take how I actually got this. I actually found a demo on a website. It was doing something totally different, but I changed enough things to get this with a little ball bouncing around.
Uh-huh.
I definitely wouldn't recommend starting something from scratch because that would take a really long time. But just kind of playing around with it until it's something that looks different enough, I guess.
Cool. Sounds good. Because for our final project, aren't we making a website that has everything we learned incorporated in it somehow?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked at what the final project is yet.
Okay. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's actually implementing everything that we've been studying. I'm not positive, but I think that's what it is. Okay, so I have the just the animations with CSS, and just have a couple of examples. It's really simple, and it's just kind of like what you said. It's just something that you have to play around with a little bit. But so this one, I just have 3 different ones that do different things. So this one, when this press me p tag is active, it changes, or so when I click on it, it's going to change from red to orange to yellow. And the code for that is find it really fast. Okay, so I just have it's telling it to set it to width and height, and then telling it that the background color is red. And then with animations, you have to give them a name, which that was different from the transitions and whatever the other one was I did last week that I can't think of.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have to give it a name, and it's the same thing where, so WebKit here, it gave this an example, is for Safari. So we give it a name, and this one's just called example, and then you tell it how long that you want the animation to go on for. So that one's just for 4 seconds.
Sorry, quick question. Why do you have the duration, a WebKit duration and an animation? Oh, you did the WebKit to add Safari support?
Yeah, so the WebKit is forced so that it recognizes it on Safari. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I'm using Chrome anyway, but just for reference, I guess. And then the same thing here. So then you have this keyframes, and I don't know exactly what keyframes means, except that keyframes is the tag that you use to tell it what to do while it's animating. So again, there's this WebKit one because for Safari. But so we have keyframes, and then you put keyframes and then the name of the animation. So example was the name I had given it before. and then I'm just telling it to go from this background color that was red to the background color yellow. So then that's exactly what happens when it's pressed. It goes from red and transitions to yellow over a 4-second duration, and then it stops.
Okay.
So I kind of just built on that example. So that's like the most basic, just from one color to another. The only difference here with this one is that, that's the typo, is that we're telling it to go from red to yellow to blue to green instead. And you can tell it at what point you want it to change. So after 25% of the time has gone by, it's going to switch to yellow and so forth. So we still give it a duration of 4 seconds. So after 1 second, it'll switch to each of the other colors. So this one, same thing. So, and I don't actually know how to get it so that it doesn't like fade from one color to the next. That's just what the example online I found had. There's probably a way to make it be more like just red and yellow and blue and green and not the colors in between, but I'm not sure exactly how to do that. And then this one, the last one, so same thing is that set it, the height, the width, everything. And then this one is actually going to make it move. So it does this. So it's there, and then it moves around like that and changes color while it moves. And so we have, same thing, it has its name that I keep having a typo with. And then, so we're telling it that it's going to be 4 seconds long again, but we're going to delay it. So I have my mouse clicked for 2 seconds before it starts animating. And then, so the same thing with the percentage is that after 25% of the time, it's going to move over. So you can tell it, you want to change the background color, you want it to move to 200 pixels from the left, and then 0 pixels from the top from where it was already. And then the same thing is that it's just telling it its new position each time. So now this one's 200 pixels from the top, and that's when it moves down, and then over 0 pixels from the left, and then right back to where it started. So it just does that again. Because when I first put these all in, I didn't have these like things to click on, and I realized that, and then they were all just going at once the page loaded, and so I was like, oh, maybe I can put JavaScript in to make it a button so that when I do that, but to have it just work only with the CSS is like just when it's active. So you can either, kind of like we talked about last time, you can use the hover or you can use the active in CSS specifically. So anyway, does that make sense kind of?
Yeah, can I see the HTML real quick?
Yeah. Yeah, so I just gave them divs, and then that's all. And then they each have their own ID, which actually I'm realizing I did when I was trying to do it with to implement JavaScript, and they don't even need the IDs.
So you could do like button ID 1 instead, and it'd be a button that you could click and it would do it, do you think?
Yeah, I am sure it could. Let me see. Oh, actually, so the only difference is that, so I made it a button, but the thing is that in my CSS, I have it as a div. Oh no, I am doing it by my ID. Never mind. Yeah. So it still wants you to hold it while you do it.
Oh, I see.
Because I'm telling it while it's active.
Right,
yeah, with the CSS. So I don't know that it's necessarily the best way to do it, because I don't know of anything besides like active and hover that you can tell it to do an animation with CSS. It seems kind of like it makes more sense to do it where it's like if your page loads and you want an animation to start, it makes sense to do it this way, because if not, like either the user has to hover over it the whole time or be clicking the entire time. So
Yeah.
to me, it makes sense. It's like, okay, that's just something you wanted to do automatically when a page loads, but I don't know. There's probably other instances.
Well, I think probably like if you had some buttons and when you hover over it, you want like the button to shimmer or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
To kind of like really draw their attention more that they're hovering over it. I could see it like that.
Yeah, that was something else too, where like, if you like click a button and it kind of like the shadow changes or it like gets slightly bigger, things like that. Yeah, that's totally a good place to use animations. But yeah, I guess with my examples, it's kind of awkward to just like have to be pressing it the whole time while the square changes. But yeah. So kind of the same thing though, where you just have to play with it, and there's like so many different things that you can do. But there was another one too where you can like tell so like if these ones that I clicked on it, I could tell it when I click on it to act like the animation had already been occurring for 2 seconds. It's like you can tell it to, if I say the animation's 4 seconds long, but I tell it to start as if 2 seconds already went by, then it'll only do the last 2 seconds of the animation, which is kind of interesting. But there's just a lot you can do with it.
Okay.
So, yeah. Anyway, pretty simple. Just changing the CSS to do whatever you want to do it with it.